Most grant applications have really good intellectual merit and have really strong, broader implications, so that they're really going to help the communities in which the languages come from. So it's really hard for reviewers to judge between all of these really good applications. How do we do it? It often results in looking at two things. One is that, do you have the people in place to get the job done? And do you have a really sound work plan to show that you can get all of the tasks done? You don't have to have a famous linguist or even an outside linguist in your work plan or part of your project team. What you do need to have is enough people to get the job done, and that those people have the right qualifications to do the jobs that you're asking them to do. Make sure that you're very clear in your description who is going to do each task. So for example, let's say that you were wanting to interview and record people in your community to get personal narratives, stories about their lives and how they did things, either in the past or right now in the present. After you record these, you're going to probably want to do a couple different things with them. First, you're probably going to need to just write down the whole, what was recorded in the language that it was recorded in. And then you probably want to have a translation, a free translation, something that sounds really good, really easy in the language that you're wanting to translate it in, whether it's English or Spanish or Russian or whatever other language that you might be working in. You want to make sure that you have enough people for the tasks that you're wanting to do. So for example, let's say that you're wanting to record personal narratives. Personal narratives are those kinds of narratives where people talk about what they did growing up or how things used to be, these kinds of things. You're going to need somebody to interview to get the good personal narratives. You're going to need somebody to actually do the recording. Then you're going to need somebody who can transcribe each of the recordings in the language that they were recorded in. After that, you want a free translation, something in a language that is perhaps the dominant language that you're working in. And perhaps for your teachers or other people, you may want what's called an interlinear translation, where you have it for word by word and maybe even some of the words broken up into meaningful parts. All of these tasks are very different tasks, and not everyone has all of the qualifications to do each of these tasks. Make sure that you have enough people to do what you need to do. So what do we mean by qualifications? This does not mean that a person has to have a degree or a higher degree in anything. Does the person have the language skills to write in the language? Does the person have translation skills? This is a very difficult task to give really good, meaningful translations. If you're going to put your information into any kind of database, such as Flex or Elan or any of those kinds of databases, does the person have the training to do that? You can give the qualifications for the senior personnel, such as the PI and co-PI, in the senior personnel section, and this turns up in their CV, their short CV as well. But for everybody else who has a distinct task that's really important to get your jobs done, add another smaller section that says other personnel and give their name and a really short description of their qualifications and who they are. This goes a long way for us to know that you know who is in place and that they can do the job. As given in the instructions for NSF, you have to have a project description. This is generally a little bit long and is in prose form. It's really eloquent, and you do a lot of work in making it readable for us. But honestly, as a reviewer, I really like to get down to the nitty-gritty, and I often find this in a separate section that's called either a work plan, a timeline, you can name it anything you want, but it really gives me immediately and really clearly your plan of work. The plan of work can be organized in different ways. I personally like to have it in a chart form. I can easily see the goals, the major tasks that you're going to do to fulfill those goals, the personnel that you have in place to do those goals, and a timeline of when you expect to get those done. Oftentimes people break these up in year by year, and then within the year, the goals in the order that you're going to get them done. But it's important to include all of those parts to it. In contrast to the narrative description, A work plan is really visually easy for me to see. I personally like things in a chart form or in clear headlines with bulleted points underneath. The reason for this is, especially if I have a lot of reviews that I'm supposed to do in a given year, I need to easily be able to get the information. If I can't find it easily, I start thinking that you haven't done enough thinking and that it's unclear in your mind as well. You want to make it as clear and easy for the reviewers as possible. So what should be in the work plan? Again, it should be really visual. It should include the main points, the goals, the major goals that you have in the grant, the tasks that you're going to be doing to fulfill those. You don't have to have every single one, but the major tasks that need to be done, when you're going to do them, and the persons assigned to do the tasks. You should also include any pre-work. A lot of people start at the most major tasks, but think about some of the pre-work that needs to be done, including the training, maybe gathering some information, maybe garnering extra community support, any of that pre-work. If you're going to do it on your own time, that's even better. We know that you're dedicated in doing this beforehand. It should also include the post-work. Be sure to have in your timeline the writing in your project report at the end and also doing the archiving. Don't forget your archiving in your timeline. So providing a section set aside where you can clearly show your timeline and your work plan really helps you get in your mind everything you need to do and that you have all the people in place, and it's really nice and manageable that you can get the work done. For me as a reviewer, it helps me understand that you know everything that you need to do, that you have the people in place ready to go, and that I want to fund this grant.